I'd like to talk about Medicare drug price negotiations for a moment. To great fanfare a couple years ago, the Democrats in their reconciliation bill, the president managed to pass legislation that would allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices, thereby presumably saving Medicare beneficiaries and the Medicare program some money. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that program and whether or not it's started up yet, and what kind of proposals there are in the president's budget regarding Medicare drug prices.
Yeah, I mean, I think the negotiation of drug prices is really a key uh, health savers that has been enacted over the last few years. And the president's budget tries to expand the program. But I think when you look at how the program is designed, where we start with 10 drugs in the first year, which will be 2026, that are going to have negotiated prices. That negotiation actually right now is ongoing. The manufacturers just recently submitted their kind of opening response bid to the government selecting their drugs for negotiation. So those negotiations, quote unquote, will play out over the next couple years. At the same time, the drug companies are trying to sue in many different courts to stop this program. I hope they're not successful because I think the government should be allowed to negotiate the prices it pays for drugs, just like the government sets prices for what doctors get paid for what they do. The government controls pricing for medical devices that we get when we have surgery or other health problems. And it doesn't make sense for prescription drugs to be the only product that the government has to take at whatever price the producers suggest. I mean, it doesn't make sense. We would not want the government to fall into that trap. We want the government to be able to reduce spending. And so I think having this negotiation power is crucial to the government being able to keep healthcare costs down. I would say that the way the original bill that actually passed was structured is you start with 10 drugs, then you go to 15 drugs, then you go to 20 drugs throughout the 10-year budget period. By the end of the original, I think, time period, you wind up negotiating over something like 50 to 70 of the most expensive drugs. And when you look at drug spending in the United States, it is actually highly concentrated in the top most expensive and most used drugs. So by the end of the first decade, you've pretty much gotten a majority of the savings that you would get for most of the drugs that patients get prescribed in Medicare, at least in large amounts. What the president's budget wants to do is enable the president to negotiate 50 drugs right off the bat, which really, I think, brings savings forward in the budget window. But I think it doesn't ultimately change the trajectory of long-term prescription drug spending for Medicare. Because over certainly the first 20 years, all of the drugs are being negotiated that fit these certain criteria. So you haven't really done much more bending the long-term cost curve with the president's budget proposals. You're just kind of bringing it forward in time. So again, you're getting budget savings, and we always are in favor of reducing the deficit and having budget savings, but you're not doing much to change the long-term stability or sustainability of Medicare.